Ah, smell that? It's a fragrant smell of chocolate, pumpkin, and shitty lists of the best horror anime to watch on this unofficial holiday of madness, death, and pain. Last time we chatted, me and my friend Eric spent a good time talking about horror anime, what it is, and what it isn't. If you haven't watched that, you should go check it out. But the show that I'm talking about today isn't so much horror, but rather a supernatural theme series bent more on the unsettling. At least I feel like that was the intent. This is a series that has been, shall we say, haunting me for several years, since I first started reviewing, in fact. But it's been on the chopping block for a while. I've just never had the heart to put it down. Not because I enjoyed the series, oh no, in fact, every time I see it recommended as an anime to watch this time of year, I can't help but roll my eyes. And it's not one of those, like, very light, just kind of roll your eyes. No, it's the full-on. And that's because this series is not scary. It's not horror. It's not even particularly memorable either, to be honest. But it does involve ghosts, and it does involve the supernatural. But I would much rather watch almost any other anime with ghost in the title. Ghost Stories, Ghost Hound, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Second Gig, my boy! But this is still kind of perfect for a Halloween episode, I guess. So, here we are. And so, ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Arcada, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Today, Ghost Hunt. Let's jam. So let me give you the reasons why you might want to watch this show, and thankfully they all revolve around the show's premise, so this section is relatively spoiler-free. Young high school student Mai, a connoisseur of ghost stories as it were, through accidental or on high school-like circumstance, finds herself in the employ of a paranormal researcher. This researcher, Naru, is brought in to observe paranormal activities, and with his apparent genius, removes problems so that normalcy can continue. You may notice that I speak with distaste when I talk about Naru, and that is because he is, generally speaking, a pompous ass. He's the age of a high schooler despite being an entrepreneur, and because of his intellect, he walks around with a high and mighty attitude. He's like Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock, but without, anything remotely interesting about his character. Anyways, the show is made up of our characters finding and dealing with paranormal events, but none of said events in the show are made up for the show. They all have some kind of basis in actual things that people believe about the paranormal. How the show deals with the paranormal, though. Well, here I want to draw a parallel with a live-action series called House MD. You may have watched it, or heard of it, doesn't matter. The general story of any House episode is that a patient has a problem. House quickly believes he knows what the problem is due to his vast medical knowledge, but his staff all have differing opinions, and we spend the episode with each of them attempting their own solutions, but none of that matters because House is always right. Ghost Hunt is similar. The supporting cast is full of a variety of characters who all have their own unique way of dealing with the supernatural. Though, of course, while they all have their own theories and their solutions, which they believe will of course work because they are awesome, in the end they all fail, and Naru's hypothesis is king and always correct because science. At the very least, however, I can say that the secondary characters can be interesting, even if their shtick gets old past the halfway point. On top of which, our main character, Mai, does successfully fulfill her role as audience surrogate / companion to Naru's doctor. There is a lot of empathy with her character as the series goes on, but ultimately, she is not a character who can hold the weight of the entire show, and I don't feel like she helped keep the show interesting. For me, the problem is with how the mystery of these paranormal events are solved, in that the solution to any arc is usually the same. Naru is always right. All hail our supernatural overlord, Naru the narcissist. However, the show also likes to use red herrings, just enough to make you think, hey, man, I know that he's always been right so far, but this time, he is wrong. But he never is. Slightly off at times, perhaps, but as is always with the scientific method, hypotheses can change with the introduction of new evidence, which I think comes to my major beef with the series. It's slow. Most of the time, we aren't really dealing with a mystery. It's all about the paranormal, so you'd expect plot points to come out of nowhere, and the whole picture shouldn't be seen until, like, the end, unless, of course, you are the great and powerful Naru. The few times where a human culprit is involved, however, is where the slowness really takes root. As I mentioned previously, most of these storylines take place over the course of several episodes, labeled as such, part 1, part 2, and so on. And I felt that most of these stories could have been halved in length, and nothing really of great significance would have been lost. There is so much superfluous information being brought to the table that it feels like we're just kind of being dragged along through plot points that don't help resolve anything and are mostly incidental. The slowness is also not really helped along by the show's animation, and this is probably a complaint that sticks out more now considering the show's age. The vast majority of the show's animation involves heavy use of still shots and a little actual movement, at least nothing extraordinary. Speaking about something that's not extraordinary though, let's talk about the show's opening, shall we? And while I'm talking, I'm just going to have it play right here before you, or at least part of it, because it's going to help prove my point. Now, I wanted to take a moment to talk about this opening sequence, not because it's good or even mediocre, but rather because it is quite possibly the most boring anime intro I have ever witnessed. Like, I'm hesitant to say that it's bad, it's just really not interesting. Like, look at it, look at it. Half of it is little glowing balls, followed by some fake water, and then the music makes the whole thing sound like it's for a Saturday morning cartoon at the end. I'm not wrong, am I? Which is a shame, because the musical score does so much more for the story than the rest of it. But most of the time, the music feels like it's ignored. The musical score was composed by Toshio Matsuda, who the year previous helped compose the soundtrack to Mushishi, which if you haven't listened to or, watched, you should go do that. But the music here gives this show a wondrous atmosphere that I feel got stifled by the rest of the production. There is a reason why I like to listen to anime soundtracks on their own outside of the confines of the show. Because had I not done so, in this case, I would have given a response like, Ghost Hunt had music? Well, I guess it must have, yeah, but I don't remember it, so it can't have been any good. But it does have music, and it was really good, but it doesn't, or rather, it does do its job a bit too well. It doesn't stand out. It's like a young student doing its best to help and support its senpai without actually trying to dominate the narrative or the production as a whole. You don't notice it's even doing a good job until you pay attention. And it's an interesting allegory for the show's main cast, honestly. But, okay. Okay, as far as details and information on the world of the supernatural, this show does have a lot to offer, and if that's the kind of thing that you get interested in, then by all means try the show out. But beyond that, I see little appeal this far past the show's original airing. And it's strange because I remember the show coming out, and there was quite a lot of praise for the show, a lot of praise for its characters, the stories it was telling, how it was telling them. But now, over 10 years after it aired on Japanese television, I can't honestly hold those opinions. It's not a bad show, and most of what I find it to be is just boring and uninteresting, and I think that could just be due to its age, because it really hasn't aged well. This is not a series that stood the test of time, and likely it's not going to get much attention past this point, well, except for people like me who are looking for something vaguely supernatural to use as review fodder near Halloween, because I've already gone through more of the obvious subjects, except for maybe Gakuogurashi, but we're gonna get to that eventually. And as such, with all of that in mind, I'd like to present Ghost Hunt with the recommendation to skip it. While it may have some reasons for people to watch it, if you're looking for a series to just fill up your time, you could do worse, but you could also do so much better. At the time of this video, Ghost Hunt has been licensed and is available from Funimation Entertainment, both for home video and on their website for legal streaming, links down below. And the review copy for this video was lovingly provided by the folks over at RiotStuffAnime.com, a fine purveyor of anime DVDs, Blu-rays, and other such merchandise for you to enjoy. And you can pick up Ghost Hunt from them among many others, though honestly, go with the others like Higurashi, Shiki, heck, even Parasite the Maximum. I don't like that one, personally, but I bet you'll find more enjoyment out of it than this. Which, of course, though, brings me to the alternate anime recommendations. And first off, another anime about spirits and supernatural Japanese stories. Just, I'm gonna say Mushishi again, because you need to watch that if you haven't. Second recommendation goes to a show written by the same author, but focuses on a different kind of supernatural. specifically vampires. And I'm talking about the series Shiki, which I reviewed a few years back. And if you were to watch that video on it, shameless plug, you'll know that I did have some qualms with it as well, but between this one and that one, Shiki was much better executed. So with those recommendations, you should hopefully find something to your liking. And that's it for me. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you liked the video. Follow me on Twitter if you feel so inclined. And hey, if you like what I do here and feel like helping out, go and check out my Patreon page and consider donating. Specifically though, I would like to thank Joshua Garcia, Yunurudova Queen, Robert Chumzai, Calhoun Boy, Ziri Yamako, and Victor Ekmark for being especially awesome. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.